Hey everyone, in today's video, I want to talk about a universal Social Security benefit where all retirees receive the same flat payment. Now, this is not a new idea, but recently this proposal has resurfaced and it's gained some news coverage as a potential long-term fix for Social Security. This strategy could be a way to avoid raising taxes and avoid cutting benefits to mid and lower income retirees. But before we get there, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe, hit that notifications bell too. The next few years are going to hold some really big changes for Social Security, and when those changes start moving through the system, I'll be right here on this channel telling you what you need to know about these. And if you subscribed and hit that notifications bell, you're not going to miss it. So, universal Social Security benefits. Right away, what are your thoughts? Your first instinctive reaction? Well, I'll tell you what mine was in just a moment, but I want you to see the results from a poll I did in my YouTube community. I posed the question, what are your thoughts about Social Security switching to a universal system of flat payments for all retirees? As of the recording of this video, I've had just over 5,000 responses. 54% say it's a horrible idea, 4% say it's a good idea, and 42% say I'd have to know more to form an opinion. Now that 42% that wanted more information is actually the smart group, but I'll admit, at first, I was part of the 54% that just said, this is a horrible idea, before I'd even heard any of the details. But after reading over some of these proposals, I'm now more in favor of a plan like this. Now hear me out, don't hit that back arrow just yet. A plan like this would certainly be a departure from the current structure of Social Security. You know, since the inception of Social Security, there's been a direct connection between the amount of taxes paid and the benefit eventually received. So if you paid in a lot of Social Security payroll taxes, your benefit would be higher than someone who didn't pay in as much. And that connection is really the only thing that separates Social Security from a traditional welfare program. People truly feel like they've earned their benefit because they have an account where their earnings are recorded and an eventual benefit that is a product of their earnings being applied to a formula. So there's a lot of perceived ownership with the current system. But the current system is in serious trouble. In just over a decade, benefits are going to face an across-the-board 25% reduction unless there are some serious changes made. And with the size of the massive Social Security program, those changes are going to have to happen before we get to the 12 o'clock hour. Otherwise, it's going to be like a ship steering around an iceberg. There's just not going to be enough time to maneuver. This means that the changes will likely fall on the Biden administration. And while there have been several proposals mentioned, none of them have been a long-term fix for the financing of Social Security. They all just kick the can down the road a ways, just like happened back in the early 80s when we were facing this same set of problems that we are now. But migrating the Social Security system to a flat payment amount for all retirees is different. On its own, it will nearly fix the program completely for the long term. So if benefits are flattened and everyone receives the same benefit, this means that low-income workers would get higher benefits and higher-income workers would get a lower benefit. Now, at first glance, it would seem like that a plan such as this falls right into the playbook of the more liberal politicians. But big surprise here. This proposal comes from the Heritage Foundation, which is generally thought of as a right-leaning conservative organization. In their analysis, they find that not only would a gradual shift to a flat payment system nearly erase the Social Security shortfall, but payroll taxes could actually be reduced. However, this change would require a substantial reframing of how Social Security is viewed. When the program was first introduced, it was a safety net against poverty and old age. At the height of the Great Depression, many older people were literally penniless. 1/3 to 1/2 of the aged were dependent on family or friends for support. And a large portion of those who were 55 and older were faced with the prospect of destitution in their remaining years. So the Social Security system was created to help these older Americans buy food and other necessities. Now, if you look at the current day statistics provided by the Social Security Administration, the original intent of the system is still carried out for lower income individuals, but there are also individuals receiving benefits who simply don't need them. I know that sounds harsh, but it is the truth. According to the most recent Income of the Aged publication by the Social Security Administration, there's a big difference in the dependency on Social Security. This report breaks down individuals over the age of 65 into 5 income groups. In the first income group, that's the lowest income group, more than 96% of individuals report receiving at least half of their income from Social Security. And all the way out in the fifth income group, that's the highest income, only 3.6% of individuals report receiving half of their income from Social Security. Now, despite the dependence on Social Security being much lower, those in the higher income groups actually receive a higher benefit. So can we just be honest and admit that a system which rewards higher benefits to those who depend on it the least should no longer be considered an anti-poverty benefit? Now, we're not talking about the issue of fairness here, but we are admitting the fact that this is no longer a benefit that is intended to pull people out of poverty. And not only is the system not serving its original purpose, there are additional studies that suggest programs like Social Security discourages and disincentivizes personal savings. The thought of these studies is that individuals may think, why save for retirement when I have Social Security fallback on? The truth here is that Social Security was simply never intended to be the retirement income program that it has turned into. So the proposal to pay flat Social Security benefits would be a reversion back to the intent of the program. A monthly payment in retirement to keep older Americans from going hungry or homeless. But unlike the means-tested welfare programs, higher income individuals would still be eligible for a benefit payment, thus keeping the connection between paying payroll taxes and entitlement to benefits. So here's the 1,000-foot view of how this would work. The Social Security system would very gradually move from the current system to a universal payment where benefits would increase for lower income workers and be reduced for higher income workers. Now, this move would not happen overnight. In fact, it would take several decades to be fully implemented. According to the detailed plan from the Heritage Foundation, it wouldn't have any impact on anyone who was already 62 or older. And for those who weren't 62 by 2021, there would be changes, but they would be very, very small. This plan would take a full 32 years to get fully implemented, which means that it would have the full effect for those who are 30 years or younger in 2021. Now, this gradual phase-in would allow plenty of time for individual retirement planning while still providing the needed revenue to continue paying benefits to current retirees as promised. It would also offer some certainty for a generation of young savers who currently believe that Social Security will not be there for them. If you don't believe that, ask some of them who are under 40. Just say, do you think Social Security will be there? And they'll all say, no, I don't think so. This would give some certainty there and at least give them something that they could plan on. Now, before we get into the details of this plan, it's going to help to cover a quick view on how retirement benefits are calculated. First, the Social Security Administration will take your historical earnings and adjust them for inflation that has occurred over the years while you're working. Now, this inflation adjustment goes through age 59. Earnings at 60 or beyond are used at face value. Then the administration takes only your highest 35 years of earnings, sums them up, and divides by 420, which is the number of months in 35 years. The result of this calculation is your averaged index monthly earnings, which is simply referred to as AIM. Now, that part is not changing, but here's the part that is. Once your AIM is calculated, your averaged index monthly earnings, the Social Security Administration uses their formula to calculate your PIA. Now, this is accomplished by calculating your AIM through 3 separate bands, which are in effect the year you turn 62. And your PIA, by the way, is simply synonymous for retirement benefits with the amount that you are entitled to receive at your full retirement age. So the formula is meant to give you that full retirement age benefit. But they calculate this with the formula that's in place the year you turn 62. So for the AIM that falls within the first band, you multiply by 90%. That's the first part of your benefit. For AIM that falls within the second band, you multiply by 32%. That's the second part of your benefit. And for AIM that is greater than the maximum of the second band, you multiply by 15%. And that's the third part of your benefit. The sum of these 3 bands is your benefit amount at full retirement age, your PIA, or again, your full retirement age benefit amount. Now, the switch to a universal benefit would simply change this formula to produce a flat benefit to all retirees as long as their historical earnings were high enough to fill up the first bracket. This formula would gradually change as follows. It would increase the first band by 1% per year until it reaches 112%. It would decrease the second band by 1% per year until it reached 0. and it would decrease the third band by 0.5% until it also reached zero. The ending formula would be set up to only give credit toward a benefit based on the lowest band of lifetime earnings. This means that an individual with a lifetime monthly earnings of $1,000 would receive the same benefit as the person with a lifetime monthly earnings of $10,000 under the current formula without adding any inflation. This would mean that mid to higher income individuals would not be getting the same return on their payroll taxes as they did in the old system. Now that's a problem for sure. There is an issue of fairness here, but listen, that's the likely outcome of any plan to save Social Security, whether it's increased payroll taxes, means testing, or any of the other proposed solutions. Those with mid to higher incomes need to prepare for less generous treatment from Social Security at some point in the future. In the same proposal from the Heritage Foundation, they also point out that payroll taxes could actually be decreased from the current 12.4% to 10.1%. That would amount to an extra $1,600 per year in take-home for a household with median income. Now, compare that to the current benefit payment schedule that's in place now, which will require the payroll taxes to rise from 12.4%, which is today's rate, to 15.7% in 2035, and to exceed 17% by 2080. A switch to a universal Social Security system wouldn't fix the entire issue with the finances of Social Security. The analysis indicates that flat payment system would fix 84% of the long-term solvency issue. Now that's close for a solution that doesn't involve tax increases or unplanned benefit cuts. And when coupled with some other reforms, such as indexing the retirement ages to life expectancy, the problem is completely solved in perpetuity. Now, this is one proposal that I'll continue to monitor closely. If a proposal like this makes progress, I'll be talking about it right here on the channel. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, and as soon as I publish something, you'll know about it. And also remember, this is your retirement. Continue to learn about how to make the most of it by using resources like my retirement planning cheat sheet I've created. This is where I've taken the retirement income limits, the tax tables, and lots of other important things, and I break it all down and condense it to just one page. I'll put a link to that, as well as a lot of other valuable resources from today's video in the description below. Thanks so much for watching.